Hello and welcome to this special episode of Scale Your Sales podcast. I am your host, Janice B. Gordon, the customer growth expert. Today, we're celebrating the people who shaped us, the ones that inspired us, that challenged us to be better versions of ourselves. So in this episode, we're talking about your heroes and sheroes, the family members who grounded us, the mentors who guided us, and the notable figures who shaped our thinking and behavior. Over the year of our incredible Scale Your Sales podcast guests have shared their journey and expertise. But today, we're turning the spotlight to those who influence them. You'll hear heartfelt stories about parents, partners, colleagues, as well as reflections on global icons and influencers whose courage and innovation made an indelible impact on our guests. So I hope it also makes an impact on you too. So grab a cup of tea, your favorite beverage, sit back and let's hear these inspiring stories to remind you of the power of influence, love, and leadership. So let's dive in. Who is your hero and shero?
I have so many people in the industry that I look up to, people who go beyond their usual self to really serve the industry and the world and social causes and so many things. But I can only relate to one person that I see every day, and that's my spouse. I've seen him throughout the last 30 years, and every day without fail, the way he gets up and he perks himself up even in days where he's down, and he goes to work and just to get our rice bowls, right? Like, the enthusiasm and the energy and the discipline, the consistency in getting things done, over and over a period of time.
3 days ago, my mom had her birthday, and next month is going to be International Women's Month. So I would have to say my mom.
Yeah.
My mom is my hero. She's been through a lot in her life, and I know that she sacrificed a lot for me to be where I am in life. So for me, she's modeled resiliency. She's modeled confidence, humility, and those are all things that, traits I'd like to pursue in my life as well. But she's been a great example for me and a great encouragement throughout the entirety of my life.
Is probably the most amazing person I know. And she is, without a doubt, my hero. We have 10 children, and those 10 children, some of them are adopted. 6 of them are actually adopted. And those kids, a lot of our kids have medical special needs. My wife is amazing. She is the one that keeps us rolling, keeps us going. When you talk about courage, she's the one that I look to for inspiration.
I have a lot of people that I am thankful and grateful for, but I'd say from my career perspective, it would be my dad. So my dad worked at Xerox in sales, and he was there in the 60s and 70s. He's 95 right now. And so he was there, and that was the time in the 70s when women were first getting into sales. That was the time of Jill Conrath, right? Mm-hmm. At Xerox. And they were killing it. And the men were like, whoa. And so I was the daughter who graduated school, wasn't sure what I was going to do. And he encouraged me to go into sales, which I never thought of. And so that was the beginning of my B2B sales career. It was from his experience at Xerox, sharing that with me. And all those years, helping me, encouraging me, asking me, he's to this day at 95, he wants to know, what deals am I working on?
It's my grandmother on my dad's side, Joanne Gordon, or Joe Mama, as we all affectionately call her. So she's 94. And in true, theme of what we're talking about with sales and putting others first, that's how she's been her whole life. So she grew up as one of 11. So she didn't really have a chance to be selfish or self-centered. It was always about helping the family and helping her mom and taking care of her younger siblings. And And that has stuck with her whole life.
I have to say my hero and cheerer are my parents. They are two phenomenal people who came from a different culture, both came from the Caribbean, different islands, met here when they were in their teens, showed me and my sister the true meaning of life. It's all about passion, doing well, being successful, creating a network and a village. I think that is key to success in life. Having a village of people that you can throw ideas around with. And yeah, they have just been the most supportive and brilliant role models for me and my sister.
My dad, I would not be where I am today. My brother's also a top individual contributor in his industry. And my dad owned a real estate company. My mom actually was also a top agent. So my dad was the owner broker. My mom was a top agent in town. And I affectionately say that my brother and I got our MBA at the kitchen table. So money was transparent. Business talk happened all the time. So we around, steak and potatoes, we were hearing about new listings and out of town buyers and commission checks. And so really, like, my dad did a great job. I mean, I really think part of the reason I wrote the book is because I know things that I know other people don't know just because of how I grew up. And I feel like I have an obligation to share my dad's wisdom and the things that I learned at the kitchen table with people who didn't have that opportunity.
Absolutely, my mother, through and through. So my mother passed when I was almost 15. She had breast cancer, and I can say I never saw that woman hurt. I never saw her make an excuse. I never saw where she let me and my sister down in any way, shape, or form. And we put a lot of people on a pedestal after they pass, right? And it's very interesting how we do that. But that was a pillar in my life of learning how to do things on my own. And my girls are going to learn how to do things on their own, but they're going to know that, hey, my mom saw me and she heard me and she gave me that encouragement that I needed and that foundation, which is so important to be able to stand on. So my mama all day, through and through, absolutely.
Well, my Shero is absolutely and 1,000% my wife, Vanessa. We've been together for a little bit over 30 years now. We met in college in Argentina. And we moved to the US exactly 20 years ago. And, she had the same or even better career than I had at that point in Argentina. She was making huge strides in the finance world. And we just had our 3 babies. I have triplet girls. And when the girls turned 2 years old, well, when they turned 1, actually, I was offered the opportunity to move to the US and progress my career. And she didn't blink. She actually supported me. She left her career in Argentina. We, came here with 3 babies and started our life in the US. And I know it was extremely hard for her.
One of my first leaders ever, her name was Lori Grass. This was, I was young, 20 years ago. I'll date myself. Pretty quickly out of college. And she came in and she was so directive. She was a great coach and a great leader. And she did not shy away from telling you things that you needed to hear, even if you didn't want to hear them. But she was also such a great teacher. So she taught us, and I say us, there was a group of us that were all around the same age and life stages. Predominantly women, which was fantastic. And she taught all of us not only about selling and selling with good intention and doing what was right, but also about life. Like, we all got puppies at the same time, and we all started getting married and planning weddings at the same time. We had babies together, and she led us through all of that. So early in my career, she was sort of like a mama bear. I always called her my sales mama.
I saw Melinda Gates donate $1 billion to helping women in business. And that's my Shero right there. Absolutely.
My Shero has got to be Coco Gauff, the tennis player. I saw her at the US Open the first year she was coming out and people were going crazy. She's talented, she's calm, she's cool. I've never seen her get frustrated. And I don't care how far behind she is in a set or a match. I'm always like, she can win this. Yeah, she can do this. So that is inspirational to me. Love Coco Golf.
When I was growing up, it was Helen Keller, who was a young girl who very early in her youth, about 2 or 3 years old, she was struck with a fever and became blind and deaf. And so you can imagine just completely isolated. And she had an amazing tutor who brought her out of this. And she had an amazing command of language. It would tour around the United States speaking as somebody who was blind and deaf. She had her tutor assistant interpreting for her because it was hard to understand her. But so much grace, so much knowledge, so much wisdom coming from her. And I feel like, my goodness, if she could overcome that, to really have an impact on people, I can do this.
There are some people I really admire, and one of those people is a guy called Clive Stafford Smith. He was one of the 2 co-founders of Reprieve, and something that I've cared about all my life is injustice. He personally freed 69 people from Guantanamo Bay due to his capability as a lawyer and his, rather than trying to go and earn a lot of money, which I'm sure he could have done as a barrister, instead to give his services completely for free, funded by a charity, in order to go and help people who have been falsely imprisoned, which happens all over the world.
My hero is Thich Nhat Hanh. He is a Buddhist monk that is from Vietnam, and he was actually exiled from the country around the time of the Vietnam War. So he went to France, to the Bordeaux area, and he started actually a retreat center to bring mindfulness to the West. And so he speaks a lot, his teachings, about the role of intention and being in the present moment and being curious, and the value that that brings in multiple parts of our lives, whether it's in our personal lives, but also in our professional lives. He's even written a book about it and the value of mindfulness in work, and what it can bring to the table. Also worth sharing, emotional intelligence, and some of the core concepts of emotional intelligence come from, have a mix of mindfulness embedded within.
I am an Ayn Rand fan. I don't say that. People think I just throw the name out there. I am like when I look at the school of objectivism and that philosophy, because Ayn Rand wrote a book, The Virtues of Capitalism. By the way, she wrote one of the most popular books, still popular today, wrote it in the 1950s, called Atlas Shrugged. And
I always find any rags to riches story that you see incredibly inspiring. So like the likes of Mark Cuban or Oprah Winfrey, like just self-made success, where they're not saying, oh, I was only given 2 hotels to start a business. They actually started with I couldn't afford to go to university. I had to work my way up from the ground up, and I wasn't given very much, but here's all the things that I did, and their success stories are just inspiring. Every time I hear them talk and the new things that they're doing and the new industry sectors they're moving into and new ways in which they're helping people.
I love to see people step out of their comfort zone. That's taking a chance, and that's heroic to me. I love seeing people, the working mom that's working a full job and decided to go back to school. That's amazing. I love to see people taking chances on themselves. And I'm that person in the background that, hang out with me long enough, Janice, I'll get you to believe that you can do anything in this world. And then once you get there, I'm going to help you do it. Yeah. So, I just love to see people take chances, and it's a hard thing to do. And when I see it, I love it.
Taylor Swift. It's very hard to be kind of like an icon of pop culture for like 10, 12 years. And then she managed to make that happen. At the same time, she created her own content. And obviously her content resonates with her fans. And she continued to create content over a period of time to keep that the momentum going. And also she works very, very hard. That's another thing I admire her. It's not just like, okay, she's beautiful and she has talent. She works hard, and that have my respect.
I mean, obviously it has to be a Shero. And when I was thinking about this, I was pulling together my list of competencies and criteria of who my Shero was. And I think it is someone who is an advocate, is unique and can show up in their own way, that is an evangelist. She is child-free by choice. So am I. So to me, I thought of Dolly Parton. I'm like, she's out there. She is a wonderful activist. She's an entrepreneur. I love artists in the singing community, and just what she's done from an activist and an education perspective, I just really admire her.
For me, Serena Williams, like, she's unbelievable. I'm sure I'm not the only one saying that, but because now, sales and sports, they go together all the time. For me, like, she's the symbol of somebody that doesn't give up. And against all the odds, she keeps winning and winning and winning again. There was an advert about Nike where basically she talks about, they call me crazy, right? And there are like different kind of scenes where she was like angry and she smashed the rackets on the floor, and she's like, they tell you that you're angry, they tell you, but I don't know, they judge you, whatever. She also used other words, but basically she ends the ads, and she said, show them what crazy can do. And for me, that's so powerful, because how many times I've been called crazy or been called names.
The Kardashians, right? The Kardashians. And simply because they're like worth $4 billion, and they spun it out of nothing. I'm like, how on earth did they do that? They did it by seeing a gap, understanding where popular culture was, creating a niche and stepping into it. In fact, it's intensely technical what they delivered for themselves and their own enrichment. It's mind-blowing. It really is. Utterly amazing.
What an incredible journey we've been on. I'm so grateful to the guests for opening up their hearts and sharing their stories of their heroes and sheroes. Whether it's the steadfast support from parents or partners, or the wisdom of bosses and mentors, or the achievements of global leaders, these stories remind us of the profound influence others have on our lives and our ability to grow and give back. When I reflect on my Shero, I think of the spiritualism and wisdom of Oprah, and also the lyricism and honesty of Maya Angelou, strong Black women. With Maya Angelou, it was the first time that I read poems and it really felt that she was speaking to me. You may strike me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies, but still like dust I rise. I rise, I rise, I rise. That's my shortened version of one of her poems, but it echoes in my head, and it continues to have a real impact on me, those strong words. Now, to you, our listeners of Scale Your Sales podcast, I hope this episode inspires you to reflect on the people who have shaped your life. Perhaps it's time to thank those unsung heroes and sheroes who believed in you, who said the right words when it mattered most. So before the end of 2024, I challenge you, I urge you to pick up the phone and tell that person how much they meant to you. If you can't say it, text it, just do it. Let them know what they did that mattered most to you and thank them. And remember, you too can be a hero and shero for someone else. You can make an impact in someone else's story. Your words have power, and your actions make a lasting impact. Now, if you enjoyed this episode, and I really hope you did, please do not forget to subscribe, leave a review on iTunes, and share it with your network, friends and family. Let's keep these powerful conversations going. And also let me know and big them up on LinkedIn by letting me know who you have thanked and the impact that they have made, why they're your hero and shero. I would love to hear from you. So until next time, this is Janice B. Gordon, the customer growth expert, host of Scale Your Sales podcast, wishing you a very happy new year and all the courage and inspiration to scale your sales and your life. Take very great care. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Scale Your Sales podcast. If you like this discussion, feel free to listen to other episodes or watch the captioned show on YouTube and subscribe to future episodes. I would really appreciate it if you would leave a positive review on iTunes. Thank you.